So I'm shooting this video today at the request of somebody who commented on the previous video of a shady garden transformation, which is a shady border that I planted up 2 to 3 years ago now, and they wanted to see how it was looking. So I actually visit the garden on a regular basis still, so I've done a video today. It is the 2nd of October, so we're coming towards the end of the year, but we'll have a look at the border, and it's changed quite a bit, a few changes, and I will show you what has worked very well, and I will show you what has not worked so well. So in regards to the main changes that have happened in the border, when I planted it up, I planted up with 2 feature trees, a Japanese Acer. I can't remember the variety off the top of my head, but I'll maybe try and put it in the link below, and also Magnolia variety Susan, which has sort of very deep pink flowers in the spring. And they were 2 feature trees in the border, and what has happened is this property is now owned by different people, and when the previous owners moved house, those trees went with them, so they are actually no longer in the border, which is the main change that I was talking about. So this is the border in question as we come up here, and the first thing that strikes me when I'm looking at it now, bear in mind we're in October, so you can lots of different greens and yellows and stuff going on here, is the Pittosporum Tom Thumb, this one here. That dark purple evergreen foliage, it is really holding this border together, so it's not a complete sort of hue of different greens. That one there is a really key plant in this border, which is done quite well. So when it was initially planted, this gap here was filled by a Magnolia Susan, which has gone, and in this area here we had the Japanese Acer, which has gone. The new client has actually put in a couple of smaller ones, so hopefully they will grow up in time and fill that space. But actually 2 of the shrubs that we've put in here are forming quite a good size, so we haven't completely lost the height, and it's these here. So they are an elder, Sambucus racemosa Sutherland's Gold, and this one in particular has put on a good lot of growth. You know, he's about 8-9 foot high now. The leaves are quite similar to Japanese Acers, which is why I use them in here. And if this plant had more sunlight, these leaves would be a lot lighter, probably more that sort of colour, but because we're in a sort of dappled shade here, they're greens. But they've taken really well, and actually they will replace the height lost by the other trees, so it hasn't been too bad. The other things which have done well in here are the Astilbes. They've all survived and bulked out, and you can see all the old flower heads still on, which I leave for as long as we can go. So the Astilbes have been a great success. Very pleased with those. The Brunnera Macrophylla, that's been a good success, but to be honest, you've got a job to kill Brunnera Macrophylla. It's very sort of tenacious, easy to grow plant. What I do with the Brunnera in particular is try to nip the flower heads off as soon as they start to fade, because Brunneras do have a tendency to seed very freely, so I try and nip the flower heads off as soon as they're about to fade to prevent it, you know, going too far here. So Brunneras have done well. The other thing that's done very well is your grass here, your Hakona cloas. These are fantastic. Low growing grasses, cut them down in the winter. They form nice little clumps, they don't seed around, and it just, you can see on today, on a windy day, it's bringing that bit of movement to the border, so that's been good. Obviously your Pittosporum, which I talked about earlier, he's taken very well, and it's just so valuable for a different colour foliage. Your shrubs here are Cornus, Midwinter Fire. They're a fairly bog standard shrub for most of the year. They don't look a great deal, but these will earn their keep in the winter when they really show off with that sort of fiery red stem, especially against the contrast of the Pittosporum there. So that's good. What else have we got in here? It's done well. Okay, we got the Sarcococca confusa. Watch how you say that one. So this is the commonly known as the winter box or sweet box, and if you look very closely you can see, if my camera focuses, which it doesn't look like it's going to, anyway, you can see the tiny little flower buds that are going to be coming into display in the winter. Flowers are pretty insignificant, but the scent on them is amazing, and we've got a few of those in here. Okay, so yeah, looking back again, still lots of nice colours in there, and you know, when the astilbes are in flower early on, and the Brenneras are in flower, that looks really nice. So what hasn't worked so well in here, because that's as important, if not more important, than what has worked. So if we head to the back, this Rhodie, it's been okay-ish. We've got a nice lot of flower buds coming on it, so it could be in worse condition, but also it is suffering a wee bit with some dieback. I don't think it's thriving here. I'm not quite sure why, but it's not really put on the growth that I would expect. This is a large specimen. I can't remember the variety, but I bought it because it was a large one. So it may be that it's just, you know, taking its time to settle in, and it will kick on, hopefully. But he's, you know, a few of the leaves yellowing, so he's not 100% happy. And the only other thing that's not worked quite so well, at the front here, in this area, planted a lot of white candelabra primulas, which really are a bog garden plant. They like the dappled shade, they do like it wet, and when it is dry under here, they have suffered a little bit. Not so bad this year. To be honest, I thought we'd lost them this year, but there are signs that they have started to seed around. And if we come in here, there are some more in amongst this Alchemilla, and I don't know if that's them back there or whether that's your normal sort of primula. They haven't done quite so well, and I think the reason they haven't done quite so well is it's just not wet enough for them here. We keep the tree canopy cut back so it still allows light and water to the border, but I think it's just not wet enough for the primulas to really sort of get established to decent sizes. So that's what's worked, and that is what hasn't worked. What I wish I'd done with this border, because of how well this works, I feel like we could have put in another evergreen shrub with foliage that is not green. Maybe something with lighter foliage, so you can go for bog standard things like Euonymus Silver Queen, which is one of the most commonly grown bog standard supermarket car park type plants. It's not an exciting thing, but it's a tough grower. It copes well with shade and dry shade. It's evergreen with bright white variegated flowers. So although it's not a hugely interesting plant in itself, it would have helped to bring another colour and lighten up this border. The other thing we could have used if we wanted the same qualities but a bit higher is maybe a holly, one of the variegated hollies in here that we could keep maybe a bit clipped so it doesn't, grow too big. But I feel that's the only other thing this border needs is something else evergreen, off green, just to lighten it up that little bit. But whenever you're doing redesigns or planting new borders or whatever, there's always a case of some things work and some things don't work so well. You need to sit with it and make those little subtle changes once everything's settled down. That's part of it. You're never going to plant and design something and everything thrive and everything be perfect. Well, that's part of the fun of it as well. So that's this little job revisited, and yeah, we're about 2 to 3 years on now. Things have started to settle in. Before I let you go, we'll have a look around the garden. I've planted up and designed most of these borders around the edge, and 2nd of October, and we've still got some good colour in here. The Michaelmas daisies and the sedums are always good for this time of year. Michaelmas daisies great for the bees, as you can see, as are the sedums. So they've done quite well. Verbena bonariensis is still kicking on, which is good. The Gaura Lintimeri, which is not hugely hardy herbaceous perennial, but it's still pretty good. And the seed heads are looking good this time of year. You've got all the seed heads from the echinaceas, which are holding their own, and of the Rudbeckias back there. Seed heads of the Rudbeckia against the asters behind, that's still looking smart. So that's good. We'll leave them up for as long as we can. And coming down, this was the first set of planting that I'd done here. Again, sedum's looking good. Grasses providing a bit of movement. The Rudbeckias are still sort of, hanging on at the back there amongst the grasses. But also in here, you've got the Leucanthemum, which haven't flopped, so we'll just leave those seed heads up because they look quite nice when the frost gets on them. Yeah, so done quite a lot in this garden, and it's all sort of starting to fill out and settle in nicely. Anyway, that's it. I'm going now, because I need to pack my gear up and on to the next. Thank you for watching.